Hello and welcome to Ultima UiQ. My name is Matt Hudson, I'm the CTO of Ultima, and I'm joined by Mark Lucas from Commvault.
Hey Matt.
So we're going to talk a bit today about cyber recovery and a clean room, and why a clean room is different and cyber recovery is different to having a disaster recovery plan. So Mark, do you want to talk to us a little bit about what a clean room is?
Clean room is very much about taking into account that when it comes to cyber recovery, you cannot count on your environment being clean. In fact, with DR and with backup, they assume that your data and your environment's going to be clean. With cyber recovery, you can't rely on either one of those. And clean room is about providing an environment which you know is going to be clean and sterile that you can recover to and also do cyber testing in.
Yeah, it's a really good point, because I think some people think of DR as being the same no matter what happens, but actually the key point there is sometimes your environment can't be recovered because it's dirty and it's not in a state that can be recovered too. So that's probably a really key point. Do you want to talk a little bit more about why DR recovery in an environment is different to how cyber recovery or cyber resilience is?
Sure. So there's three forms of recovery that your customers need to think about. Backup, files being deleted, disaster recovery, there's been a natural disaster or there's some reason why you can't rely on your existing site and you want to recover somewhere else in any form of disaster. And I mentioned earlier that with both of those, they assume that your data is clean and that your environment is clean, whereas we know with the type of ransomware attacks that are out there that they're looking at targeting both encrypting the data, infecting the data, but also doing the same with the infrastructure. Whatever they can do to make sure that the ransomware attack and the ransom being paid is successful. Yeah. So cyber recovery, which is the third type of recovery, I'm finding that some businesses are, we've got disaster recovery, we're fine. No, you're not.
Yeah. I see that sometimes with some customers, they have that recovery situation that they want to recover, but something's wrong in their infrastructure and they can't actually recover from that. The big example of that is Active Directory. When an attacker attacks an environment, the first thing, well, certainly I would do if I'm an attacker, is compromise the Active Directory. So when you recover in a normal DR scenario, your Active Directory is compromised, and then you're straight back to square one again with you don't have an environment to recover to. So, or the ability to bring your backups up. So, do you want to talk a little bit more about why that clean recovery and the Active Directory element of it is so critical when it comes to cyber resilience?
Yeah, you're right. I think I read a statistic somewhere. It was like 95% of ransomware attacks will target Active Directory. Yeah. So you want to make sure that's properly backed up. With Clean Room, what it very much is focusing on doing is, or the way that we're looking at Clean Room is, first of all, you've got your Commvault infrastructure, which is your control plane. Yeah. We'll fire that up for you first of all, and then the customer will fire up an Azure tenant that they know, because they've literally just fired it up, that it's clean, that it's sterile. We've also got a cloud-based target called Air Gap Protect. That's where the customer's going to put their data that they want to recover in the event of, for example, a cyber recovery. And then our clean room recovery concept is bringing all of those together. And coming into September, autumn time, there's going to be the automation of the apps and the databases to make sure that when you hit the big red button, literally everything that you need is fired up and you have that clean, sterile environment running for you in the event of a cyber recovery.
And what is that next step? Let's say you recover from a clean room. Then what? What does a customer do?
Well, what they can do is obviously they can continue to use that clean room until they know that they've got their on-premise environment back up and running. Because
so is that an option then? So they could essentially go, you know what, I'm now in Azure, yeah. I'm now running perfectly fine. You know what, I don't need that on-prem again. Can they continue to run in that? Any reason why they can't continue running that environment?
I would say cost is probably an element. Yeah. So they want to ensure that it's there and they're using it for absolutely only as long as they need to. Yeah. But as you know, when they're hit by a ransomware attack on-prem, it could take a while to actually get their on-prem environment scrubbed clean. And then there is a separate element that we have through Commvault Cloud, which is going to look at making sure that the data is also clean. That's for example, their on-prem data.
I've seen the other flip side of the whole go back to the DORA thing, where you want to recover to prove that you can recover into a separate environment without all of the on-premise environment working at all, which is great. But also I've seen the other flip side of it, where a customer has had their environment compromised on premises and they can't recover to their DR environment because it's part of the same AD domain or whatever, but secondly, the insurance company want to understand what the attack vector looks like, what's been going on with it, so don't allow you to touch your own infrastructure, exactly. Right? Yeah. So at that point you can recover up into the cloud, continue to run whilst the insurance company are dealing with that attack, dealing with understanding where the attack come from, dealing with the ransom providers, I guess, and all that sort of stuff to make sure that, I guess, they have full access. Because I've seen customers locked out of their own environment saying, sorry, you can't use this environment because the insurance company are trying to work out where this attack could come from.
Carrying out the forensics. Again, they're either going to carry out internal forensics, or the moment that they pick up the phone to their cyber insurance company, they're going to want to do the testing. So yeah, that production environment is essentially going to be a no-go environment. Yeah. So this is stuff that your customers need to think about in their sort of playbook or their run book with, when I'm hit by a ransomware attack, and if that happens, what should I be thinking about? What should the alternatives be? And that's why I know that DORA is very much focused on the financial industry and the supply chain. But for me, I think it just makes a huge amount of sense that any business should be looking at what we need to do to recover from a ransomware attack. And they can also, if their environment is, or if their data is infected on-prem, they could move that data to a clean room and carry out all the testing that they need to then free up the on-premise environment to then look at then getting that cleaned and get that back online as quickly as possible.
Yeah, it's really important that compliance and regulation bit is critical.
And it's going to help lower their insurance premiums, because if any company can prove that they've taken as many steps as possible to be cyber resilient, including cyber forensics and clean room, that they're going to be able to ideally significantly reduce their cyber insurance premiums as well. Thank you, Mark.
So I think that really well describes what a clean room is and why you should have one. And the next episode, we'll talk a bit more about why Commvault, why is a Commvault technology different and how they can help you recover. So thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next time.